In this video tutorial, we're going to demonstrate the new environmental controls upgrade. So, top left-hand corner in the sidebar. Previously, we had two environments, and personally, I think two environments is more than enough, an indoor and an outdoor. And we picked two environments that gave a nice reflectivity to the design. So when you're looking at environments, you can spin the room around if you want. We were looking for something that had a lot of light, contrast, shading, like these windows here, large black areas, white areas, because those are the reflectivity bits that you see off your design. So we have an indoor and an outdoor, and we also have the option to put a colour overlay over the top of it. So for example, I could go to light grey, the room is still there, it's just got a colour overlay so I don't have to look at the room all the time. But let's just go back to the room. So when we move a file around, the room is static. So the room shouldn't move when you move your design around. In our opinion, the room should be static. So you focus on the design itself. Okay, so with that in mind, what about if you wanted your own room? So we've had two customers now ask for the ability to add their own HDR image into the software. And this was going to come out later in the Pro version, but we're actually bringing this out further forward because, why not? So we now give you an option. So not only do you have your own built-in ones that we've provided, you can upload your own custom HDRI. So if you have one of those swanky cameras like the Ricoh Theta camera, where you stand it in the middle of a room and it takes a 360 shot of your room, you could do that. So if you have a design studio, a print room, an office showroom, showing off your printing press or whatever, you could stick a device in the middle of the room, capture your HDRI with your image or your logos on the wall and all that sort of stuff, and then you can bring it into the V3R software. Just all you have to do is go to upload custom HDRI. Now for those of you that don't have that ability, because those cameras run about $1,000, you can actually add other HDRIs from other people's places. So for example, the most commonly used place for HDRIs is a company called Polyhaven. So we've put a link in here so you can go to it, click on the Polyhaven link, it will open up all the HDRI section. So at the top you've got the outdoor, indoors, etc, etc. So you can look through this to your heart's content and find something that you want to do. Just be mindful that a lot of these, they're not great. It's one of these things that when you're working with colour, you've got to be careful of having too much colour in the room that can affect your design. So you kind of want to go more towards a neutral kind of look. So something like this looks good, but there's so much white expanse here that you're going to get these flat spots in your designs. What I'd be wanting is something filling this area and this area. So let's just go on to indoor, for example. So they typically have a little bit more in there. And you might look at these and think, actually, some of these look pretty good. So you might look at this one, Path Studio 03. And you look at it and you go, okay, well, there's a bath in the corner. You have to put up with these things because these are people's rooms. So let me just explain how this works. So you go in here, you click on an image that you like, set it to 2K, set it to HDR, and then just download that file. So put that onto the desktop. Let's just find another one. Let's just go back. Let's do something a little bit different. Let's go back to, let's do an urban one. See if we can try and find something interesting. So when I say avoid colour, so things like this that might look a bit swanky are going to just contaminate your design with purple reflection off your print. So just bear in mind, we've picked images that work for a reason. If you want to find something a little bit more to your liking, and of course, and there are other companies that you can pay for, by the way, just that these are all free, so there's no restrictions on you using them. Let's just say we go for this one, slightly blue, maybe I'll prove a point with colour. Okay, so we'll download those two to the desktop. So if we go back over to the V3R, if we go to upload custom HDRI and go down to the desktop, and we can add those. So add it one at a time, it will add it into the design. So like I said, you get this kind of like, okay, that's not what I was expecting. And that's because A, you got room position and also field of view. So we've actually programmed our rooms to work correctly and naturally so it looks nice. What we're going to do here is we're actually going to change the room a little bit and zoom out basically. And then we're going to rotate the room around until you find something you might like. There's that little bath. But you might decide that that works for you, in which case you can now work with that as a room. So I could then set that as a default, which means that every time I use that app, it's going to come in looking like that. I can also upload the other one. I won't bother doing it. Let's do it for a test. Let's upload that blue one. So slightly blue, not quite to my liking. I don't particularly like these sort of things, because when you're working on your highlights and your reflections, that's what's going to get contaminated. But you know, it should be fine. I mean, it's up to you what you want to do, but let's just say that's there. You can also try slightly higher resolutions. We've tried to keep it small because when you start building a library, it's going to get a little bit frustrating. Speed can slow down a little bit with the higher ones. And really all you're after is the reflections. So as I'm spinning this round, I'm not actually looking at the room. I'm looking at my reflections. So if you look at like this net weight 1,000 grams, I'm looking for, is there a sweet spot where those reflections actually look really nice? You know, all the way around there, it's quite dark. Oh, there we go, there's a nice one there. So as a sweet spot, something like that, that would give me more reflectivity when I'm looking at my design. So I'd set that there. Now, I can also manage these HDRIs. So if you click on Manage, you'll then see each one. So you can put your cursor over it and get a look of what each one, maybe in a festive mood, it's Christmas time, load that one up. So you can switch and change, you can use it or you can delete it. So you now have the ability to set your room. Now notice I just clicked reset to default. Because I've saved as a default with this room in that position, it brings me back there. So I can now work with that way. Now if I don't want to see that room for any reason, I can now put on a color overlay. The room's still there, it's just not showing it. And then obviously you can then cycle back through to these things. Now you can also rename them. So just be aware that these things might not look good as Pav Studio 3. You might just want to put it Studio Indoor. And that way it comes up correctly in the database. So just bear in mind, it's all about basically making sure that you're happy with the rooms that are provided. Like I said, we picked 2 that work, and as I said, you shouldn't need 20 different rooms, but if you want to, you can have up to 20 rooms. And because these HDRIs are free from stock libraries like that, there's no point in trying to charge a premium for it. We don't think that something that's free should be restricted. We don't say, oh, you can only have 5 rooms or you can only have 10 rooms. You have as many rooms as you like, but you really only need 1, if I'm honest. So there you go. If you want to add your own HDRIs, you can now do so. And like I said, these came from customer requests to add their own HDRIs. We thought, yep, add your own, but also, hey, here's a link to the free ones as well. Knock yourself out, add as many as you like, make it your system. So there we go. That's how the environmental controls work.